Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. I'm gonna try my best to keep my composure. This time, it's gonna be challenging though, because Blizzard just doubled down on their decision against Hearthstone player blitzchung and the two shoutcasters during the ongoing events with the Hearthstone tournament last week in China. Regarding last weekend's Hearthstone Grandmasters tournament, Blizzard has issued an official statement. If you look at the date here, interestingly enough, we have October 12th, 2019, which as of recording this, it's October 12th, 2019. But when this first released, it was October 11th, a Friday. But we're going to get into something very peculiar about this release. JT. Every voice matters, encouraging everybody to share their point of view. The actions we took over the weekend are causing people to question if we are still committed to these values. We absolutely are, and I will explain. BS. There is a tremendous amount of contradictions throughout this entire statement. I don't want to call it an apology because they don't apologize anywhere in this. It's almost weird how they go to great lengths not to apologize. They say they made mistakes. They don't say, I'm sorry, which is a very interesting distinction here. Our esports programs are an expression of our vision and values. Esports exist to create opportunities for players around the world from different cultures and from different backgrounds to come together and compete and share their passion for gaming. So from this perspective, I just want to take Blizzard's side. This is probably going to be the only time in this entire video I do that, and say I understand where they're coming from because they have to balance a ton of different personalities, beliefs, religion, politics, and Blizzard just wants people to be able to play the games. And from that perspective, I can understand why they took issue with this situation. Where that all falls apart, though, is the contradictions that are abound everywhere. Blizzard have found themselves between a rock and a hard place, and it's all their own doing. They've suspended blitzchung. It was initially 12 months. Now it's down to 6 months. They took away his prize money from winning the tournament. They have since reinstated it and said that they could have handled this better, that their actions were a little bit too crass and quick to judge. And hopefully they learn from this to make a better judgment going forward. The problem I have with this is when they start stretching the truths to the point of flat out lying. The specific views expressed by blitzchung were not a factor in the decision we made. If his views were not a factor in the decision you made, why did you make a decision at all? Why did you double down on it and still suspend him for 6 months? If his views expressed were not a factor in the decision you made. I want to be clear. Our relationships in China had no influence on our decision. No, that's a lie. That's a straight up lie. I don't know why you would even say that. Saying this is the most abhorrent, disgusting part of this entire statement. Mentioning China and then saying it had no influence on our decision makes absolutely no sense. The specific views expressed by him were not a factor. Our relationships in China were not a factor. Then why did you do anything? There is no reason to do anything if that's your stance on this. Clearly, you are misleading your audience. Now, like I said, I'm going to try not to get too fired up about this, but I lost a little bit of sleep last night while I was reading through this. Okay, what could Blizzard have done better, and where do we go from here? And then they have an indent here. This is very interesting how it has the indents. Something that I want you guys to pay attention to, because I'm going to talk about this in a little bit more detail. But playing fair also includes appropriate pre- and post-match conduct, especially when player accepts recognition for winning a broadcast. Which is interesting, because college Hearthstone players who held up Free Hong Kong sign didn't get any kind of suspension or slap on the wrist at all. In fact, Blizzard didn't do anything against these people. They just dropped out of the tournament after that because they were so disgusted with how Blizzard handled blitzchung's actions. So the double standard has been set. Blizzard has said China has nothing to do with this, but yet they only took action against a player who said Free Hong Kong, but then when someone from somewhere else that's not in Hong Kong says anything about it, Blizzard doesn't do anything to them. But China had no impact on that decision. None of this makes any sense, Blizzard. With regard to the casters, remember their purpose is to keep the event focused on the tournament. That didn't happen here and was setting their suspension up to 6 months as well. So They go from being fired to being suspended for 6 months. I'd love to hear a follow-up depending on 6 months from now, how long they have a job for and what kind of ridiculous reason they find to let go of them after they bring them back. Because trust me, that will happen. Moving forward, we'll continue to apply tournament rules to ensure our official broadcasts remain focused on the game and are not a platform for divisive social or political views. That I can understand. Like I said, that is the one thing Blizzard can hold on to, is saying, we just want this to be about the games. We don't want it to be political. We don't want it to be religious. We don't want to have any kind of personal views being shared during the games. But if that's the case, you need to do something about thinking globally and every voice matters, because you are not thinking globally and every voice does not matter. If all you do is care about the games, that's fine, but don't say people have a voice if they don't. That doesn't make any sense at all. With this being the case, let's move on to some of the biggest issues that the entire community has with this statement from Blizzard. First off, this is from Bluebell, SG Bluebell on Twitter. I've been keeping quiet out of fear, but as an English major and a Chinese speaker, I feel like I really need to point this out since I don't know how many people will know enough to explain. The Blizzard post really seems like it was written by a Chinese non-native English speaker. And this person goes into some tremendous detail on each line of why this was written in Chinese and basically put through a translation and then signed off at the end by Alan Brack over at Blizzard, which is really weird if you consider the fact that they say that China had nothing to do with their decision, but yet this person, a native Chinese speaker who is an English major, points out every little issue with this and why it was clearly written initially in Chinese, translated, and then signed off by Brack. But yet they say in this statement, China had nothing to do with it, and it was written in Chinese. With that being said, another interesting tidbit that I talked about at the top of this, October 12th, 2019, which is now Saturday in America. But according to Sarah Moore on Twitter, this was posted on the 12th, but it was the 11th in the US where Blizzard is headquartered. Wait a minute, 8:37 a.m. in China is October 12th, when this was dated. It released from China on October 12th. It's insane that a multi-billion-dollar video game organization can't even get their dates right when they try to say something doesn't have anything to do with China, gets written in Chinese, gets dated like it was from China, and then still has the audacity to say, our relationships in China had no influence on our decision. Come on, Blizzard. This is too easy to rip you guys apart. Try. Just try for 1 minute to have a little bit of integrity. Just a little bit. Is that too much to ask? But it doesn't stop there. There's even more going on behind the scenes after this statement got released officially from Blizzard. Blizzard has removed the Mei Statue from their online store as the character is becoming a pro-Hong Kong icon. This is from Memology 101. The link to the figure will redirect you to another page. So here is the new link to the Mei Statue. And it's gone. The statue is now no longer available for purchase. Here is the original link before it got removed. And not eligible for special promotion, free shipping, statue scheduled delivery. So the statue is still available to purchase, but they've redirected the link. So unless you have the official direct archive link for the Mei Statue, you cannot purchase this anymore. Which is fascinating after the entire world of Reddit went after Overwatch and turned Mei into a symbol of hope and freedom for Hong Kong. China doesn't like that. And now they told Blizzard to stop selling the statue, and Blizzard bends the knee instantly and gets rid of it. You cannot find that Mei Statue on the official Blizzard Gear website anymore. Let's see, Mei Statue. Nope. It's no longer here, which is fascinating because all the other statues are still here. So unless you have the direct link for this one, you can't get it anymore. But don't worry, our relationships in China had no influence on our decision. Perfect. Perfect. So there you have a breakdown of the bullshit that is the Blizzard statement, trying to explain away their transgressions regarding how they handled the Hearthstone Grandmasters Tournament champion. And they walked it back. They said he got a 6-month suspension and his prize earnings have been now returned to him. But to be honest, 6 months is still extremely harsh. I would have been okay with 2, maybe 3 months. But after everything they've gone through and the mistakes they've made, and then the biggest problem here, I want to be clear, our relationships in China had no influence on our decision. That's when the shit really hit the fan. Because if you recall, on the Blizzard Chinese social media, the official Blizzard Chinese social media, Hearthstone's official statement was, "We are very angered and disappointed at what happened at the event last weekend and highly object the expression of personal and political beliefs in any of our events. As always, we will defend the pride and dignity of China at all costs." This is from the official Chinese Blizzard Twitter account. The official one. So Blizzard, one hand, is definitely not talking to the other right here. And you need to understand what you said in China will come across to the States and we'll see it. So saying something like China had no influence on our decision is completely bullshit. We see right through that when we have the facts right in front of us that you have already gone on and said in China that we will defend the pride and dignity of China at all costs. I rest my case. Blizzard, if anything, doubling down on this and saying China had nothing to do with your decision was the biggest mistake you have ever made. Even worse than the initial mistake of suspending and taking the pay away from this original winner, blitzchung. Saying that China had nothing to do with this is the nail in the coffin for you guys, and throwing something BS like this out there on a Friday afternoon, hoping it gets lost in the weekend mail, is really, really low. I hope the gaming community never forgets these actions, and I hope, for the sake of Blizzard, that J. Allen Brack is no longer the president there anymore, especially after signing off on such a ludicrous statement. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.